Alright, this video is about Meliodas versus Escanor. Meliodas and Escanor, right? Meliodas is the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins, right? And Escanor found them when he was young, right? He's actually the youngest member of the Seven Deadly Sins. When he found them, he was like, I've been, exiled from the kingdoms and shit, right? Because my power, I'm become like a monster when the sun comes up. I'm too strong. Like when I try to grab something and I apply too much force, I break shit and scare people. And, I'm very arrogant and other things when the sun comes up. And he went there, to look for some help. And they were like, okay, well, when the sun comes up, we won't worry about it. We're all fucking weird here. I, Meliodas is the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins, and I've been around for a while. Bond is also a human that's immortal. Merlin's a wizard. Gother's a doll that has, heart problems, doesn't know what a heart is. And then King's a fairy, turns into a fat, ugly guy when he takes his true form, I guess. But we're like a band of misfits, and we protect the kingdom of Leonis. So basically, I was telling you a little bit about them, but that's the first scenario. Like back when he first met them, like who would win in a fight out of him and Meliodas? And I'll tell you right now, who would win that? And then the second scenario is gonna be when they fought in the perfect cube. Everybody knows who won that. But I'll tell you, if it was close or not, if Meliodas even had a chance of winning, or if it was gonna always be Escanor's win. And then the third scenario is like them at their full power at the end of the series, like right before he died and departed, because he used the sunshine power too much. And his body finally couldn't handle it anymore. But so that being said, the first scenario when they were, younger and other things, and they first met each other, the strength goes to Meliodas. Meliodas is fighting to, show him, you ain't the biggest monster out here. I have power too and shit. Because when he gets arrogant, he gets really arrogant, and he's like, I am the most powerful human. The likes of you cannot fuck with me. And Escanor is really strong too, but when it comes to him and Meliodas, Meliodas is better. He's stronger. Speed goes to Meliodas as well. Meliodas is short and fast. Escanor is fast too, but he's not as fast as Meliodas. Durability goes to Escanor. Escanor has a big body. Like when the sun comes up, he's like, built. He's built. Great physique. Shit that people model themselves after. People in the anime community even model themselves after Escanor. And that's a fucking fact. Endurance goes to Meliodas. Intelligence goes to Meliodas as well. And also experience goes to Meliodas. Meliodas has been around for a long, long time. Escanor has close skills though. He has hand. He touches somebody, that's what he does. He went and he tried to he destroyed a mountain. He destroyed a mountainside. He's good at, throwing hands with people. Close skills. Range skills go to Meliodas. Use any kind of magical power. Like any of that cruel sun shit, he could throw that shit back with full counter. Reflect that shit back at him. So the damage gets placed on him. And recoup goes to Meliodas as well. And hacks go to Meliodas. Now, it never showed their fight go down quite, but I'm pretty sure Meliodas didn't have to use any of his demon powers, really. He used, a little bit of it. If you remember in season 1, he, used a little bit of demon power, his eyes turned, purple and and shit. That's what he had to do to Escanor when they first met. He had to make his eyes go a little bit fucking purple. But like none of the like the demon marking showed up or anything. Just like I don't know, 10 or 5% of his demon energy to take down Escanor. And the environment goes to Meliodas too, because he cares about the kingdom of Leonis. He will fight him because Escanor was a little bit childish back then, a little bit. He was like, everybody doesn't like me. I'm too powerful. I'm like, oh, I'm alone. I need somewhere to belong, but nobody can like handle my power and shit, except the seven deadly sins, and he was welcomed on after that. Because Meliodas was able to defeat him and show him that, yeah, you're not alone. There's other people out here who have weird fucking abilities too. And 9 out of 10, or 9-2, Meliodas wins that shit. Due to his inexperience and also, not knowing who the fuck Meliodas is. And then the second scenario is when they're like older and other stuff. This is in season 3, I believe, when Meliodas got put in into the perfect cube by Merlin, because Melascula is playing games. She was fucking with Meliodas' head. She could sense that his demon energy was coming back. She was like, "Oh, you want to be that demon that used to be back in the day when you ran with us?" And he was like, "No, I can't." And he still couldn't hold it back. And he became like the demon he used to be. And then Escanor got put inside the perfect cube too, and they were like, at this point, the only person who can fight him is Escanor. As it's high noon, it approaches high noon, so we'll see who can fight, who will win that fight. So the strength there goes to Meliodas still. Meliodas was standing his ground pretty well. Like, he wasn't sweating at all. He was actually like bouncing Escanor off the fucking perfect cube and other things. He was like, "Human, you don't know this demon right here. You like to talk big game, but you play games too much." And it looked like Meliodas was gonna win. Speed goes to Meliodas as well. Endurance goes to, or endurance. And the durability goes to Escanor. Meliodas put Escanor on his ass and he got back up. Boom. And he started putting out more magical power. And he was like, "Damn, you might actually be a good fight," and Meliodas was like, "Okay, let me like take it up a notch too. I didn't damage you as much as I thought." Escanor's endurance is more Meliodas's. He endured more, of a beating during that fight. He's like, "There's nothing you can do to me that can hurt me. I'm above you and shit. I'm a human being that is the pinnacle of all existence. You can't hurt me." And he was like, "I don't think so." And they, started fighting and shit. Intelligence still goes to Meliodas. Experience goes to Meliodas as well. Close skills go to Escanor again. And then range skills go to Meliodas. He tried to use a cruel sun, he threw it back at him. You know, but Escanor kept getting back up. Recoup goes to Escanor. And then hacks go to Escanor as well. Because at high noon, the gray sunshine that he has within him, like, is at its most powerful. And basically, he's like unstoppable for like 1 minute. Like no damage works on him, anything. He hits him with 1,000 divine cuts. And that shit, you know, like it did no damage and shit. And that's a move that could kill people and shit. And he was like, "That's crazy and shit. You should be on the fucking ground right now. But you're still standing there like nothing happened." And he was like, "Yeah, that kind of just tickled, is what Escanor said." And then Escanor has the environment too, because he's trying to protect the rest of the seven deadly sins from Meliodas' rampage. And he used the divine sword Escanor to take him down. So at that point, Escanor won. It was a close fight though. But once the one came out, that form where he's invincible for 1 minute, if Meliodas could have outlasted that, he would have won the fight. That's what I believe. But he couldn't outlast it, so he lost. Very close, but Escanor won that scenario. And then the third scenario, like them at the end of the series in their full powered forms, Meliodas has power of the commandments and other things. Escanor has the one power, but he got the grace taken from him from Mael, because Mael reemerged from being Escanor. He remembered who he was and shit, and then he got his power back. Escanor also um, got the powers back, but only for one more time. And seeing these two fight in their most powerful forms is, still, I'll tell you who wins that. So strength goes to Meliodas. Uh, Escanor has the one form, but remember that form don't only last for 1 minute. And now at this point, Meliodas has, his demon powers are under control. He can use his power how he needs to effectively. He won't lose his mind and all that shit. If he knows he's fighting somebody, he'll be controlled in the fight. Speed goes to Meliodas as well. Durability goes to Escanor. He is kind of like a tank and shit. He tanked his own attack, reflected back at him before. Durability, or goes to Escanor, like I said. Meliodas got the endurance, and he has intelligence and experience still over Escanor. Endurance, or not endurance, but the close skills go to Escanor. He swings that axe. The divine axe Rita, swings that shit. He has, and Meliodas has lost, man. And then he had the sword of eternal darkness. It was a fucking handle with a blade and shit. But it was used as a key to summon 10 Commandments. So he used Lost Vein instead. That little dagger that he has. And he uses full counter and revenge counter. He uses 1,000 divine cuts. He uses other magic too. But he can clone himself and other shit too. Uh, recoup, or not recoup, but range skills go to Meliodas as well. Or range skills go to Meliodas. And then recoup goes to Meliodas too. Because at this point, like I said, Escanor, he is more powerful kind of in the one form, but he burns his life away. Basically, he's like, I'm gonna burn my life away. That's his most powerful form and shit. I'll burn my life away to use everything I have to defeat an enemy. On par with like one of the fucking gods of the universe, basically fucking the Demon King. And he was using that power against them. If Meliodas is fighting in that stead against instead of the Demon King, he's still holding down against Escanor. And his recoup is there too. Hax goes to because like I said, Escanor's already burning his life away. Hax goes to Meliodas. He has more magical powers at his disposal, and then environment goes to Escanor. Escanor is fighting with everything he has. This is everything. Like his whole existence is riding on this fight. Because he's using the one form. So he knows he's gonna die. But he wants to take the enemy down with him, if he can. But if it ends up being the fight between him and Meliodas towards the end of the series with their full powers, Meliodas wins, and that's 8-3. So when it comes to Meliodas versus Escanor throughout the series and shit, 2 times out of 3, it's gonna be Meliodas winning against Escanor. You know, he's the main character. He has powerful, and it's not always easy, but it's Meliodas. People, if you watch, um, Seven Deadly Sins, you know about him. Can't take him down easily. He even went against the seven or the 10 Commandments by himself because he was confident in his power to do so. They were fearful of him too back in the day. That's why they followed him and shit. He was the son of the Demon King. So Meliodas wins more times than Escanor does when it comes to those two fighting against each other. So stay cool on the corner, and then let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. You think Escanor wins more times or not? But yeah, like I said, be cool on the corner.